What is up, guys, and welcome to the Meeple Minded Podcast, the podcast where we talk all things tabletop gaming. My name is Jason.
And I'm James.
How are you doing this week, James?
It feels a little empty in here.
It does feel a little bit empty in here. We're missing this chair. This chair right here is very empty.
It is.
I can see my posters. I can see my games behind it, but there's just something, and it's definitely a something.
A thing.
Definitely a thing. It's not a one. It's a thing. Yes, of course. It's the third voice. It is not that could be his nickname. You know, the third voice.
The third voice.
Sounds pretty cool, to be fair.
I mean, it does.
Sounds like a medium.
And now we turn to the third voice.
You know that Ant's going to listen to this and he's just going to be like, yeah, what the hell, man? So, yeah, there you go. He is now the third voice. Like I said, I just now think of him as like a medium. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like,
no,
talking to the dead, he is the third voice.
He is the third voice. You know, we have to go to him for all final decisions.
Yeah.
You know, the third voice has spoken.
Yes, indeed. Well, we had to make some decisions of our own today, James, didn't we? Because the third voice himself is not available. He is currently at work, probably getting shouted at by lots of passengers in an airport that's crashed from an IT failure.
Yes.
Because that was the thing, right? I was coming home from work the other day. My bus goes via the airport where I change over to the other one. And I was like, you know what? I want a drink. So I went into the airport and oh my God.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about what had happened with the IT hack and what have you. And I literally just walked into thousands of people on the floor, sleeping and doing all sorts of other things. And I was like, what the hell has happened?
Was it one of those moments where you walked through the doors, sort of looked around and then turned around and walked out again?
Yes. Yeah, because I would have had to have walked through all of those thousands of people to get to the drink that I was so craving. And suddenly I didn't have those cravings anymore.
Yeah, just no.
Just no.
I'm noping my way out of this place.
Yeah, that was... and I didn't know anything about it until I got home. And I think I'd messaged Dan. I was like, mate, are you working? What the hell's going on? And he was like, obviously said what it was, the IT crash or whatever. I was like, that would explain it. Yeah, lots of people stranded. Hope... yeah, I'm glad that wasn't me. I couldn't do that. I mean, I guess that's one of the benefits to living near the airport. We just come home. Yeah,
I was going to say, I would imagine, although I haven't spoken to, and I would imagine it was really quiet for a period if he was on passenger, because obviously while the IT failure is going on, no one's going through security because they can't board.
Yeah.
It's once they fixed it that it's going to be the delayed rate. It's like, at some point, all of that is coming through.
I actually messaged him because he was on nights at the time, which means he would have got all that. But luckily, it was actually when he was off.
Yeah.
So he didn't have to deal with that, which is good. But let's talk about the airport. Because that's not a game, James. That's not a game.
It could
be.
It's
very serious business. It would be really fun to gamify going on holiday, wouldn't it? That'd be great fun, you know. And it'd be brilliant for the staff. Can you imagine working on the check-in desk and just be like, right, you've got to roll a nat 20 to be able to board this plane.
Skill check.
A skill check to board the plane. Do you want an upgrade? Well... You know,
we let the dice decide.
We let the dice decide, or it could be beat me at a game of Magic the Gathering, and you get your free upgrade. Imagine it.
I mean, this is a system I could get behind.
I would suck because I can't play Magic, but still. How about we play a push your luck game? How about that? I could do that. Bit of zombie dice.
I mean, they could invent their own game. It's like, you have to play the insert airline's name here, personal game, which could be a push your luck. It's
Indeed.
Like, draw a card. Is it an upgrade?
Yeah.
Is it a push to a later flight?
Do you know what?
Choose your fate.
If you had connecting flights, right? And when you got to security, it's like, you got a 3-hour layover. Now, you've got to be there ready for that other plane. Let's play a game of Twilight Imperium. And the game here is you've got to finish it in time to catch that flight. Teach people to play quickly.
I don't think it's physically possible to play that game. No, I really like the idea of the push your luck game. It's right, Jason. You have won the first class upgrade, but would you like to risk it for a chocolate biscuit for access to the lounge while you wait.
Yeah, yeah. With free complimentary drinks.
Yep.
Not just tea and coffee.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you pushed your luck too fast. Back to economy you go.
No, you really screwed up there, because now you're not even going back to premium economy. You're going back to economy.
Yep.
The base, the scum class.
Yeah, it's not push your luck if there's no risk.
Yeah, exactly. And I call it scum class because that's how I usually travel.
Oh, yeah.
It's cheaper.
Cattle class.
Yep, cattle class, pen for the win. And that's why we do it at Expo as well, don't we? We love standing in that big queue to get our pass. Well, I do anyway, because you lot always stand outside and I'm the one that goes in, acting like a sheep going through the cattle, you know? All those cows that go for a cattle pen, isn't it?
Oh, well, yes.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah. Ignore me. Anyway, let's talk about an actual game, James, because it is a game highlight. We're struggling with this because it's been so long since we've done a game highlight that we were actually struggling to forget the format of this show. Luckily, I've actually got some notes which has the format written out. But that first bantery bit, that went off the rails just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But it's all good fun. It's all good banter. But yes, we're going to be talking about a brand new game, James. It's 24. I really think we should just start this again, right?
Yeah. 24. Dear listeners, don't ever tell you we don't bring you the exclusions from 24.
Yeah, it's Back to the Future game. No, it's 2024 release, James. And it is Draft and Write Records from Inside Up Games. Are you ready to talk about this game before I ruin this intro anymore?
I can't wait to hear the feedback from the editing of this episode.
It's going to be fun, let's put it that way. But here we go.
I'm ready.
Let's do it. Right. What an intro that was, James. What an intro that was. Right, let's talk about it. We're talking about Draft and Write Records. Now, Draft and Write Records is, as the title suggests, a draft and write game for 1 to 6 players, aged 10 and up, with a playtime of between 30 and 60 minutes. This new game from Earth publisher Inside Up Games has players assuming the role of a record label executive managing a simple garage band all the way to worldwide superstardom, playing some of the biggest stages around the world. Players will be drafting musicians, production crew, and backstage staff while trying to create harmonies within the music style to unlock more fans, more money, and more opportunities. Plan your schedule, prioritize your assets, and select your travel routes as you grow. Chain your rewards into such an amazing show, you will leave your competitors behind. But as every superstar knows, watch out for those scandals. Wow. That was so unbelievably professional.
That was a blurb.
That was a blurb and a half, wasn't it? That was a blurb and a half. But yes, that is the premise of the game, James. But when someone buys this game, what will they get within the box?
Okay, Jason. Contained within the box of Draft and Write Records, you will get 180 play cards, broken down into 12 lead singer cards, 28 musician cards, 22 production cards, 28 backstage cards, 8 scandal cards, 50 asset cards, 32 agenda cards, 66 goal cards, a past direction card, a big pad of play sheets, 8 coloured pencils, 6 regular pencils, and a pencil sharpener.
Very, very nice. Very, very nice indeed. Okay. So, I mean, the first question, does it actually specify how many sheets you get of the pads?
It doesn't. It just says pad of band sheets.
Okay, I really should check that, because I don't actually know how many plays you essentially get at this, being a draft.
I mean, it is a very thick pad, and it is probably worth noting as well that those are double-sided.
They are double-sided indeed, yes. But yeah, well, seeing as though we're on the subject of components, James, let's talk about the components, starting off, of course, with the theme and the appearances overall of the game. How does it come across to you? Because for those that don't know, we are both previous musicians of sorts, myself included. I used to be in a touring band, so the theme of this really speaks to me. Don't think you ever got onto the touring side or gigging side, did you? But,
no, we never got past the jamming stage, really. But yeah, it's a theme that very much speaks to me, because both as a musician and a rock fan, you know, from the fan side going to gigs and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, this is a game that I took one look at the theme and went, I'm going to like this.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, so visually for you, do you think that theme is fairly well represented? Or?
Yeah, I think it's very well represented from the general theming of the sheet that you're filling in. The artwork, all of that. Yeah, it just screams its theme.
Okay, that's good. So yeah, as I said, the theme for me really jumped out to me when I first saw this game, and it was a game I had to have. It was sort of fairly similar to a game that I was working on at the time, which is why I didn't continue with it, because I thought this might actually fill that void that I was trying to fill myself. But I will say, like, following on from Earth, this had some big boots to fill.
Yeah.
So, theme-wise and its appearance, I would argue that it's maybe... it's hard to say it, but it's an element of downgrade from Earth, because Earth was so amazingly stunning. I mean, because you had all the photography and stuff of real-life places. However, this is not real-life photography. It is artwork.
Yeah, it's cartoon-style artwork, isn't it? Sort of realistic cartoon, but still very much in that sort of cartoony sort of style artwork. A lot simpler than Earth as well. This is compared to Earth, this is a very simple game. Yeah,
no, I would agree with that. But yeah, I'll say I think the main boards do look good. Personal opinion, they look quite cluttered, especially when you first look at them. Like, it looks like there's a lot going on, but with good reason.
Yeah.
You know, once you start playing the game, it makes a lot more sense, right?
Yeah. It's also not as complicated as it looks once you understand how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think a lot of quote unquote right games, they do look like they're a lot more complicated than they are, just because that pad is usually jammed full of stuff.
The one I always sort of refer to with this is because it's like Gangster and Clever, isn't it? That looks like a maths test when you first sit down to the sheet.
Yeah, it does.
But it's very, very simple how it works. And this is like, I think I want to say it was Z Garcia on the Dice Tower that actually summed up this game really, really well, which was it's Gangster Clever grown up.
Yes.
That's basically what this game is. So, yeah, visually, I like the artwork. I really do like the artwork. It's not as stunning or eye-catching as Earth, but was I expecting it to be? Not really. But it does have a decent amount of table presence.
Yeah.
And to transition us over into the quality side of things, I also want to talk about the cards.
Yeah.
Because the cards have a linen finish, which is nothing new, really. But with this linen finish, they've done it in such a way that it looks and feels like an old vinyl record, right?
Yeah, which I thought was a really nice touch.
Yeah, now that really did add a lot to the theme of the game.
So that's a good positive point. I do actually have a slightly negative, I suppose, thing on the quality/component section.
Okay. Which
is the central component or the central part of the board where your band members go.
Yeah, your crew.
It's most prevalent in the second line, the green line where your musicians go.
Yeah.
The colour palette they've chosen doesn't show the yellow. It's really, really difficult. I mean, we'll get into the explanation of why that yellow is there or that yellow colour is there, but there's sections in there you fill in coloured pencil, either red, blue, purple or yellow. The other three stand out really well on the background, but the yellow just does not show up.
See, I was going to actually bring up the yellow at this point, to be fair, anyway, because it does come under a quality concern for me.
Yeah.
I find the yellow that you use doesn't really show up that much or anywhere on the board. But you are right, especially with the green, it doesn't show up.
It merges in. I think green, it would be the one bit, I think green pencil or green colouring pencil would have been a better choice
a darker colour of some
yellow.
Sort. Yeah, or orange.
Yeah.
You know, something along those lines. So yeah, just for reference to what we're talking about, we will talk about the gameplay a bit more in a minute, but when you play band members in this, they have like a synergy wheel around them, so they have 4 colours attached to them, and you fill in the colours on your main board. with coloured pencils. So
Yeah.
that's what we're talking about.
The yellow just doesn't show up.
It's a very light yellow, isn't it? Very, very pale yellow. Not quite pastel yellow, but not really much above it.
Yellow pencil in especially, it just I've always found it doesn't show up that well, especially on a white background, which is the tracks you're filling in on that particular section are white. So yeah, I definitely think a darker colour there would have been the best, because like I said, all the other three colours are fine. You can clearly see them, the red, the blue and the purple. Is that you needed, I think, a green, orange, something like that, something that's a little bit more vibrant and stands out than the yellow.
Yeah, agreed. I would definitely agree with that. So quality-wise, there's only another couple of things I want to talk about. Is going back to the central pad that you get your individual papers. They suit purpose. They're fine. However, my recommendation is any form of uneven surface, these things tear really, really easily. So the paper is, I'm guessing it's like a heavily recycled paper, which is great for the environment. I get all that. But yeah, playing this on anything other than a solid surface, even if it's a slightly uneven surface, I was finding the pencils were tearing through the paper with ease.
Yeah.
So it's fine. Just don't play it on a uneven surface. And the final thing I want to talk about with the quality is the fact that they included a pencil sharpener in the game. It's not something they needed to do, but they did. And I think that's a real nice touch. Yeah. Because, there's a lot of pencils in this game. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. It's something, to be honest, I'd like to see from more of these X and right games, or games that involve like a score pad. It's like it's pencil sharpeners are that you used to get them in cheap Christmas crackers.
It's not like it's the best pencil sharpener in the world. It's a little probably 5 pence pencil sharpener.
It's a dirt cheap one, and it's like I'd like to see more games that have either these right games or games that have a score pad where they provide a pen. Just throw a pencil sharpener in the box.
Now, James, I think we do need to highlight the elephant in the room here, because the pencils that are shown on the contents list there are clearly yellow old school pencils, and the ones that are provided, James, are black.
Yes.
So that's got to be trading standards, right? I didn't get what I paid for. Shit,
that's fine. The black pencils are more rock and roll.
Oh yeah, definitely. It makes no difference. I'd just say it in jest. But yeah, anything else about the quality that you want to talk about?
No, I think we've covered everything else. And it's like, aside from the little niggle of the yellow pencil and not showing up, I think the quality of this game is fantastic.
Nice. Very nice. Now, rulebook, James. So we'll talk about the setup of the game first. You were actually here to set up the game earlier, and in fact, did most of it. So how did you find the setup? Was it well explained within the rulebook what you had to do?
The setup, like I said, it is a very simple game. So I found the setup a breeze, which is basically give everyone a pad, separate the deck depending on the amount of players, and the cards all have the player count in the bottom corner, so telling you whether it's +1, +2, +3, because it does have a solo mode as well. Shuffle and put 4 objective cards out and give everyone a personal objective. That's the setup.
It's really not a lot, is it? I will say, for me personally, as someone who's played this a hell of a lot recently at lots of different player counts, the only niggly part of that setup is, of course, separating the deck into what player count, because every player count is a different deck size, which means every time you play with something different, you've got to go through the whole deck, separating them out. The easiest way will be somewhat what we've done at the end of playing today.
I was going to
separate out at the end of a game, so that you've then got player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4, player 5, player 6, and then you shuffle.
I was actually going to say that because we didn't really bring that up in the component section, but it's almost like they've actually set the box insert up to accommodate for that, because there is an extra. I don't know if that's prepping for an expansion, but there's an extra slot in there that doesn't seem necessary, but it does allow you to divide that deck into 2 piles, which I think very sensibly you've done as
1 to 3,
a pile of
4 to 6.
1 to 3 and a pile of 4 to 6. So all right, if you're playing the odd 2 or 5 players, you've got to go separate a couple of cards out, but it's basically set up in those, so at least it's only one pile you've got to sort out.
Yeah, exactly. But like I said, it's a minor little niggle. It's the cost of being able to play this with more or less players. It doesn't take a long time, really, to go through a deck quickly, because it's not like an Arc Nova deck.
No.
Where it's hundreds of cards. At the full player count, it's 180 cards.
Yeah, and 66 of those are objective cards.
Yeah, exactly. So just over 100 cards. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
And that's if you've got the full 6 in there, which I very rarely game at 6.
Yeah. This, to be honest, as we're starting to segue nicely into gameplay, this is a game I could actually, because it's a drafting game, I could actually think I could comfortably play this at 6 players without it being... Because my normal complaint against high player counts is it extends the time, and I don't actually think high player count would extend the time that much.
No. I suppose really, it depends on the players themselves, well, as I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. But no, I would agree. I would give this one a go at 6.
Yeah, because we've played this one with quite a few different player counts, and that is one other thing definitely goes for its replayability. Is this game is a different beast at all of those player counts. Yeah,
I think other than solo, I've played this game at every player count now, which other than 6, it's the only one I didn't do. We did go up to 5.
Yeah, I was going to say I've done 5,
3 and 2.
3 and 2. Yeah, so the only one I haven't done is 4.
Yeah,
but each of those games was markedly different.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of replayability by simply changing the player count in this game. It is a different beast.
Nice. So just very quickly before we fully go into gameplay, James, let's talk about the rules and how they are taught within the rulebook. You did have a little bit of a look through the rulebook, I believe.
Yeah, I did.
I have obviously spent quite a lot of time learning this game. Not that it was hard to learn, which is the first thing I want to say, is this game is incredibly easy to learn. It looks quite the beast when you first look at it and just be like, oh, this does this, and there's just lots, every action has a big section in there explaining what it does. But really, the first couple of sentences for each section tells you what you need to know to start the gameplay.
Yeah.
It then proceeds on to tell you in depth what you can do. So for the actual teach, maybe 10, 15 minutes of learning it before you can then go and teach the game and have people playing the game properly.
Yeah.
Maybe a few extra clarifications might have been better because I think there was a couple of mistakes I made on my first teach of the game when it came to the albums and singles section.
Yep.
Because certain parts of the game board you can mark off as like a grid. You get to pick and choose what benefits you want to get. Yep. Whereas other bits, it's linear. You have to go from left to right.
Yeah. And
there's not really anything on that board that says this is linear, this is not. There's not really a big line down between them.
Yeah, because that's I suppose that's linking back into components and quality. But there's only really one section on the board, which is the albums and singles section, where you have to go from left to right. And I don't know if it's actually on the player mats, but on the picture, I was like, what would have been nice would be a little line connecting them.
Yeah, connecting them, just so you know what to do. The only thing that actually signifies what you're doing is you've got one little arrow right at the very start.
Yeah.
Which points towards it, but then it's just sort of like, well, no, that's just telling me that.
Yeah, it would be very easy to miss that. That arrow should be in between each
I agree.
circle to indicate that it is a progression track.
Yeah, exactly. So I agree with that. It's a minor little change.
Because kind of like the tour section where it is quite clearly joined up, saying follow the line. Must follow the line.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a little bit of a niggle really when it came to the teaching of the game, but it does say it in there, so it's not like it doesn't say it. It's just I missed it on my first turn, that's my bad.
Yeah, I just think it's an important thing on these sheets that have got a lot going on. It's like, or you just had to put an arrow on, to clearly signify it's like, because it's mainly because all the other tracks are pretty much pick whichever one you want.
Exactly. Yeah. So game-wise, game teaching, it's very easy to learn. There is a big QR code thing on the front of it as well. So if you don't want to read the rulebook, they have done a really good video on how to play the game. It's only like 3 3 odd minutes long. It's actually very, very good. So I'll give them pretty good marks for the rulebook. It's well laid out. It's got good illustrations. Doesn't give me a headache reading it, which is good. And including the solo rules on the back, it's only 12 pages long.
Yeah.
So fantastic. Fantastic. Right, James, gameplay. Here we go. I've been looking forward to this one. Pros and cons, James. What do we like? What do we dislike? Is there anything in particular that stands out to you, good or bad? I mean, I'm just going to come out and say is that there's not that many cons for me.
No.
This one.
I mean, let's get my quote unquote con out of the way first. And it's not unique to this game. I think I find it with a lot of games. Is the one thing that is likely to trip up a new player is once you start marking stuff off, and it's firing off, your initial action triggers about 3 or 4 different
other abilities.
I've done this, which unlocks that, but because I've unlocked that, I go over to this track, and that's unlocked 2 more things. Yeah. And now I've got to bounce over to this section of the pad, and I've already lost track of the initial 2 things that I've unlocked. You end up sort
of, octopusing yourself over the board, don't you, with your fingers to be like, oh, right, I've done this, I still need to do this.
Yeah,
and I'm trying to do something with my other hand, because that's the thing, isn't it? You might actually unlock more than one thing initially.
Yeah.
And while you're doing track 1, so for example, I've unlocked 2 things, right? I'm doing this. Oh, but that's unlocked 2 other things. Well, hang on a minute. Now that's 3 things I need to get done.
Yeah.
But the logic is I need to follow the track. So I've done this one. It's unlocked that one. Now I need to do these 2. And then you forget the initial one that you've done, and you might end up screwing yourself out.
Yeah. And it does, in fairness, it does say it in the rulebook, and it's what I've got after 3 plays. I've now got into the habit of doing, which I have found has alleviated that problem quite a lot. Is mark it, actually remove the icon from the board by scribbling it out, and then follow that line. So I know where the initial 2 things, let's say, I've unlocked is. So right, I've unlocked this section of the board, so I'm going to scribble that out, move over there, do it. It's unlocked 2 other things, and I will follow that chain to the end. Then go back and do the second initial one. And it is that sort of thing of one at a time. It is, you have to kind of, I know we normally say we like to not take too much time on our turns, but it is that sort of, it is the game where you have to let people go down their chains, otherwise they will get lost.
So we have played another game of this fairly recently where things weren't going at the speed I think they should have been going.
Yeah.
It was actually going far, far faster than it should have been, and things got confused very, very quickly.
Yeah.
With, because with the drafting mechanic of the game, where you have a hand of cards in front of you, you pick one of those cards to perform your initial action, you do those actions, then you pass the card on to the next person, and everyone should be doing that simultaneously. So really, you shouldn't be passing those cards until you have completed your turn.
Yeah.
Now, for ease of something, for example, when I've played my card, I take the card that I'm playing, I play it face down, then the other cards are put to my right, out of the way.
Yeah.
Everyone should reveal at the same time, and then everyone starts doing their stuff. That's how I do it.
Yeah.
The problem I found in that game was I was putting my cards down, and the next person who I was passing it was helping themselves to those cards.
Yeah, it's like, hang on.
And then rush, and then it's like, well, where are my cards? Well, hang on a minute.
Yeah, hang on. I found that as like, well, I was trying to go through my sheet. It's like, hang on a minute, I've got 2 sets of, I've got a backlog of cards now because, hang on.
Yeah, because everyone else is running fast, and it's like, well, hang on a minute.
Yeah, well, we
need to slow this down.
Yeah, you should be passing at the same time, picking a card, playing it face down, then revealing it, then going through your thing.
Again, it's one of those things that everyone's board at this point is going to be different, right? Like, I might be triggering off 8, 9, 10 things. You might not trigger anything on this turn.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you should be hurrying me.
Yeah.
Like, I still need to do this to make sure I'm doing it right. I'm not going to take the mickey. I'm not going to take a long time. I just need to make sure I am doing everything how it should be done and actually planning out my actions.
Yeah.
Because, it's like, yes, I have unlocked this. This is allowing me to unlock something else, but I now need to decide which of those symbols I want to cross off, because this one will benefit me in this way, but this one will benefit me in this way. So I now need to figure out which one is going to benefit me most at this point.
I mean, you also need to make sure you're not going to make the mistake like I did in the first game we played. And it was a rookie mistake. There are certain sections and certain tracks that are blocked. You have to remove the block.
Yeah.
So you have to, a lot of these sections will allow you to trigger your unlocks in the order you choose to a certain degree. And it's like, well, I need to make sure that I'm not going to run into that roadblock or waste an unlock if I can unlock it before I trigger that particular thing. Like if I've reached the money block on the tour thing, well, I don't want to trigger the tour upgrade until I've got a money unlock from somewhere. So I need to actually decide which way I want to do this. Yeah.
And especially with the musicians or your crew as well, because obviously the bulk of the board, I think it's 12 spaces and 5 of them at the start of the game are locked. You have to unlock them before you can play crew members there.
Yeah.
If at any point you can't play a crew member,
you take minus points.
You're going to be taking minus points. So it's vital that those get unlocked. And that's one of my biggest downfalls. I always forget to unlock them. You know, I spend a lot of time doing the tour and I unlock those. And then it comes to be like, oh, hang on a minute, I've got no space for musicians. James has noticed that and he's passed me a hand.
Yeah.
Knowing full well that there's nothing in that hand I can take. He's forcing me to take negative points.
Yep.
You know, and it is a valid strategy. I'm not flooring that strategy. That's a flaw in my strategy because I haven't paid attention. Maybe it's because I've been rushed. Maybe it's not. I don't know. So that is a bit of a con, you know, but that really is down to the group. You shouldn't be rushing anyone to play this game. It's not a hard game. If people are taking the mickey, then you can G them up a little bit, but people need to be able to make the decisions in this game. It's actually all about
and I don't know if that would necessarily fall under the perhaps a second con. I don't want to call it a con, but it kind of is it almost gives you a little too much choice with that almost every box being do it in any order you want, because it's unlocking quite a lot of possibilities that you have to then run through and go, what's the most efficient way of doing this?
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's like, I don't want a game that shoehorns me down a particular track, but it's almost like it gives you a little too much choice.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I agree with that. I do think I agree with that. So, talk about the premise of the game. We've gone into a little bit there.
Yeah.
It is a very, very simple game. So, you will have a hand of 5 cards dealt to you at the start of the round. You'll play a card from that. Then it will be passed to either the person to your right or the person to your left, depending on the card in the center of the table, which tells you which way to pass. And then, you know, you repeat the actions and so on and so forth. Where every time you're playing a card, you're doing its action.
Yeah.
So you're not building a hand to then cash in at the same time. You are doing it one at a time.
Yeah. Play one, pass it on.
Exactly. So 5 turns within the round.
Yeah.
It's 4 turns, isn't it?
Yeah, because
it's 5 cards and then you discard the end.
Yeah. So you will eventually be left with 2 cards where you will have to play one and discard the other one.
Discard the other. Yeah, that's it. And then it moves on to an evening phase, which is where you can see if you've achieved any of the public objectives.
Yep, of which there will be 4.
There will be 4 of those on display. If anyone achieves a public objective, more than one person can achieve it. They still get the same victory points. Can give you bonuses. You do that from left to right or right to left, depending on how you've got your table set up. Basically, work from the deck and go down. Once you've done the personal objectives, you can then see if you've achieved your private objectives. If you have, you can cash it in.
Yep.
Now, the key thing with those objectives, James, is you may well have achieved an objective, but you don't have to claim it.
No.
Because some of them are only worth 2 or 3 points. Some of them are worth 18 plus.
Yeah, and it should probably be shoehorned in at this point that there are multiple ways to end the game.
Mm-hmm.
And the
objective track.
Yeah, the objective track, filling that up is one of them. Yeah. And there are the pointage on those objectives ranges from something like 4 to 18.
Yeah, well, some of them are, I'm sure I've seen a 2 or a 3.
Yeah, 4. I've seen quite a lot of 4s and 5s, and the highest one I think I've seen come out so far is 18 points.
Yeah, I think there's at least one that's more than that, but I'm not 100%.
Yeah, so that, but the point is they range in difficulty. So the lower the points, the easier they are to achieve.
Yeah,
but you could smash out a bunch of those really low-costed ones.
Yeah,
and end the game.
Yeah, because there's only 6 spaces that you get to fill in with these things, right? So if you claim 6 at 2. That's 12 points. That's all you've got.
Yep. And there are ways in the end game to generate a lot of minus points.
Yes, exactly. So 3 ways to end the game, James. That's one of them.
Yep.
Another one, there is a minus tracker. It's only 5 things long, but if you fill the minus points tracker, that triggers the end of the game. And the other one is if you fill all 12 of your crew. That's your band members, your backstage crew, the sound engineers, all of that jazz.
So you get your band is made up of 1 singer, 4 musicians, 3 production crew. So they're things like songwriters, PA operators, all that kind of stuff, managers, and then your roadies, effectively. So your I've seen caterers in there. I've seen sound techs.
The most important people behind the band. Let's be honest.
People who actually keep the band running.
Exactly. 12 in total. If you've managed to fill all 12 of those, it will trigger the end of the game.
Yes. However, if you trigger the end of the game through one of the other methods, and your band has gaps in it, each one of those gaps, you knock off one of the minus point tracks. Now, the minus point track doesn't sound too bad for the first 2. It's minus 2 points. Then the next one is minus 5 points, but it gives you an unlock of a locked space. But from there, James, it goes up quite a bit. It does.
Because it goes to minus 9 points, then minus 14, then minus 20.
Which is the maximum hit you can take.
Which I did in our game just now.
You did. So, as Jason said, like, the first couple, they don't sound too bad. Like, I happily took one hit on the minus track with the not-so-kind hand that Jason dealt me. Because I couldn't take the musician card that you'd given me because I either hadn't unlocked one of the slots or
you'd filled the line.
I'd already filled it, and the other one you gave me was a scandal card, which is an automatic tick on the minus track anyway. But the previous draft, I netted myself something like 25 points on the harmony section, so I was like, for a gain of 25 points, I'll take a minus 2 hit.
Exactly, And sometimes, because I said that second track, the second minus point one comes with an unlock of money. There is a strategic decision in doing that, because there's only certain amounts of unlocks that you get on your board. So that might be an easy one for you to do. It's like, yes, it's going to cost me 3 points, but...
I've not actually been through the pad and actually counted up how many blocks there are and how many unblocks there are. Is it actually possible to remove all the blocks?
It is, I think there's actually more than the amount that would be required, but some of them are obviously harder to achieve. Like 2 of the ones are on the calendar section where you've got to complete a row of 4 icons in order to unlock it. So that's a bit more difficult than, say, if you've got a card that is not that great for you. It's like, well, I can see my next one's going to lose me 3 points, but I get that unlock.
So I'm going to talk about some of the strategic elements, especially seeing as you've mentioned that calendar section. I quite like the way the game forces you to choose in quite a lot of the cases, because a lot of those public objectives revolve around the yellow and blue sections. And it's forcing you to choose between points and unlocks. Because we had one in the game we literally played before we came on an air, which was quite a high pointed thing. I think it was a 10-point public objective to score the 4 corners of the yellow section, which is completely useless for any of the unlocks, but it's going to net you 10 points.
There's other ones, like it's get the center line of the blue section, get them unlocked, and you gain like 12 points or something like that. But then there's others where it's like, have 2 of these symbols crossed off.
Which
gets you like 3 points.
Those are usually the low pointed ones. So I find the blue objective cards a little bit more forgiving, because you're getting the unlocks. Like I had the one that was fill the center line in. So you're still getting the unlocks off the center line, but what it's stopping you doing is getting those strategically placed play 1 icon, get 3 unlocks. Because of the way the lines are done, because it's making you fill in 1 line rather than going for them.
Exactly.
Again, it was worth it for 12 points, but it means that I'm not going to get that magic of I've played 1 card and I'm about to start crossing off a ton of stuff on my thing because I got 3 symbols in one play. And the yellow section, like I said, is like, it's almost like the objective cards are, it's choose your points or choose the ability to get your unlocks.
So we'll talk about those two sections very quickly. The yellow one that we're referring to is like a Post-it note, isn't it? That's divided up into like a noughts and crosses, tic-tac-toe style
it's a
thing with different symbols on.
It's a 4x4 grid.
If you're playing a card, it will have literally a symbol on that card, and it allows you to cross off one of those symbols. If you complete a vertical, horizontal, or diagonal line, you achieve the bonuses that are at either end of the line. So you actually gain 2 rewards.
Yep.
Be it the ability to do something else or unlocks or just endgame points.
Yep.
That's what that one gives you. Then you've got the blue section, which is underneath it. Now, this one's slightly different. It is symbols again, but with this one, there's bonuses between each of the different symbols. And if you have the symbol on one side of a bonus and then you play an icon that's on the other side of that bonus, you can then claim that bonus because you've connected the two.
So if you think of the blue section as they're 3 across and 5 high, and the unlocks are in between each icon, so you have to have both the symbols on either side of the icon, then it's on the link. Yes. So you have to link the 2 symbols to be able to get the unlock.
Exactly.
And like I said, if you've got one of the positions where it's almost like an arrow shape, so you got above, below, and the point, when you unlock that one in the middle, it's going to trigger 3 unlocks in one go.
Exactly. Which is pretty cool. That I quite like that section. I use that quite well. As we said, the center of the board, the biggest part of the board, is where you're listing your band members and stuff like that. That's a nice easy one because when you get the card, it tells you how much they're worth in points. Which
go in the middle.
Which you write in the middle. Then around that on the card, you have the different synergies or harmonies that character has. It'll be one of 4 colours. As James mentioned earlier, it's blue, yellow, purple,
red.
And red. And you would then draw them on around your points value. If you place it down and it's next to someone, like for example, the right-hand side of little Jimmy that I've just played down is red, and I've placed him down next to Janice, whose left-hand side is red. They are now connected by red. I have created a harmony. Because they work well together. That gives me a bonus of going down to the harmony track, which is down the bottom, which gives you lots of benefits.
It does.
And if you manage to do lots of harmonies and create lines, they are big on points, right?
You've got lots of unlocks in there, but completing a horizontal row each gets you 15, and there's 1 for each colour.
So there is 4 of those.
So that's, if you do all 4, that's 60 points.
Straight away.
The vertical columns are worth 10 points, except for the very inner one, which is worth 5.
And that's usually because every single one of of those is an unlock. A lot of people do that quite early, so it's not worth as much.
Who are going to gun for it. The key difference for the other ones, which I think is why they've got higher points as well, is there's blanks in there.
There are,
So you put a cross in there, and it's progression towards those points. It's not actually getting you anything.
Exactly.
It's also worth noting for the band members, they have an initial point cost. There are sections where you can get multipliers. Where you can then spend. I think they're most of them are ×2, but there's also ×3 and a ×4.
Yes.
So obviously you want to trigger those. Ideally you want to unlock them fairly early. And then use them on prime band members.
Because your band members range in points from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest. But if you happen to have a ×4 already unlocked, and ready to spend, and you happen to get a 5-point band member, for example, or singer, and I'm like, right, I'm playing this band member. I've already got a ×4. I'm going to spend my ×4. That now makes this card worth 20 points.
And it is very much this is a question I had to ask. You can only spend the times bonuses on cards you are about to play. You can't retroactively spend it on cards that are already on your board.
Which is the thing I like. I like that.
I do, because it stops somebody immediately taking all the high pointed cards and just going, well, I'm going to get an unlock at some point, or a times bonus at some point, and then boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the strategy usually is with the band members, do I want the points or do I want the harmony? Because quite often, your band member might be a 5-point, but it's not getting you any harmonies.
The lower points ones, and there's very, very clearly been an amazing mathematical equation that's gone into the design of this game.
Yeah.
Those lower points ones have clearly got more chance of a synergy or a harmony. Harmony is the official term, but I keep referring to it as synergy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's how
there's definitely higher chance of creating harmony with the lower points.
Yeah, I can't.
It is with those higher ones.
It is actually written in the rulebook. I'm going to look it up as to what those symbols are actually. Musicals, yeah, they're levels, tune, tempo, and pitch. So they are harmonies in a way. But yeah, I prefer, and in my headcanon, if you like, I actually look at those lines as how well. I prefer the term synergy because it's how well do the band actually gel.
Yeah. There's no, it's not very often that you'll get a band that works where you've got a rapper as the singer, a heavy metal guitarist, a jazz drummer, and
a trumpet player.
A trumpet player who only knows how to play classical, and then a crew chief that has only ever managed a country and rock band,
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You don't get the best of a band when everyone is fighting against each other with different inspirations.
Yeah, so that I despite the fact that the rulebook calls it harmonies, I actually prefer the term synergies.
Yeah.
How well does this band actually gelling
and synergizing together?
Yeah.
No, I agree. I do agree. And the final part of the board, we have talked about it a little bit, is of course the touring part of the board. And that is as simple as if I've got a movement, I can move down the touring track by 1.
Yep.
And there are certain unlocks on there. And the further down the tracks you go, you get points.
Yep. And there are quite a few blockers on there that you have to unlock.
Yes.
There are also 2 paths.
There's two and a half paths because there's 2 paths from the start, but then one of the paths splits.
It does. The longer one does split. We also haven't spoken about, arguably, the most important bit for a band, which is arguably the easiest bit of the game, which is albums and singles, which are just 2 linear tracks.
Yeah, so 2 linear tracks that as you achieve them, you're marking off.
Yeah.
Every other one gives you a bonus, and at the end of the game, you get 1 times the other.
Yeah.
In points. So if I've done 7 singles and 3 albums, I'm going to do 7 times 3 gets me 21 points.
Yeah.
I really hope my maths worked there. That is right, isn't it? 14. Yeah. 21.
And I also, just to round off this section, I actually like how easy the end game top up is for all of this stuff that's going on. It is literally add up band members points, add up your objectives track points, add up your harmonies points, add up your calendar points, add up your tour points, add up, do your albums times singles, take off any minus points.
What's your final score? Yeah, and that's it. That's the whole game right there. We've just been through that whole game in probably about 5-10 minutes, but we've been around the whole board. We've told you how every single one of them works, and while commenting about how much we like each bit. The best thing about this game, though, James, is that you name your own band.
Oh, you do. We also forgot to mention right at the start of the game, you pick a colour.
Yes, you pick your initial synergy.
Yeah, so you choose your band name, and then next to your band name, you have the initial
potential
link,
synergy, isn't it? Yeah.
Where you choose a random colour before you get dealt cards.
Yeah.
And then there are also another 4 sections on there that are sort of off the board.
Yeah.
They are random synergies, if you like, link points, which you get by the sort of pie chart looking symbol.
It's another unlock, isn't it? You get to pick another random.
Yeah, but you get to choose the colour. So it's basically it's almost to even out those odd bits that don't synergize.
Yeah,
where you get to pick the colour.
Yeah,
that goes in them.
Yeah. So just a few more points I want to talk about, really, James. When it comes to the gameplay, obviously, I've got the things that I like. We've already mentioned the little niggles that we did indeed have. I love how the synergy harmony thing works in the game. That's probably my go-to playing this game because I do really well at getting those points. Like, obviously, we were trying to figure out in that last game because we got exactly the same points, James. We tied.
Yes, we did.
In that game. And you won the tiebreaker. Fair play to you. But, because you ended the game without me noticing, that's my fault. I paid no attention to your board. I lost 20 points.
Yeah.
If I hadn't have lost those 20 points, I was about 20 points ahead of you. But the bulk of mine, as we figured it out, was coming from those harmonies. Yeah, I wasn't. I wasn't playing lots of magicians.
We were actually in the end. We were only 5 points off on there. Your points came from the tour section. You got I
got a fair bit on there.
Fair bit because you got all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah. But yeah, I wasn't playing many of the crew in that game because I was picking and choosing so that I was maximizing my synergies, and yeah, it didn't work in my favor. It obviously cost me quite greatly to do that. I was also gunning for the bonuses from doing the calendar, stuff like that. So there are different ways to play this game, and I've played it different every single time.
Yeah, I mean that last round was very interesting because both of us achieved. Ended up achieving
three of the public
objectives. Go, right, okay, I've done... Well, for me, it was an interesting one because I've done 2 of them, but once I've done number 1, and claimed its bonuses, I'll have done number 3.
Yeah, now 100% the way I have seen this played, and it works the same on BGA, is it goes from one side to the other.
Yeah.
So if you achieve something by the time you get to this other one, as far as I'm concerned, you've achieved it.
You get to claim
The only thing you can't do is because they are replaced, they are replenished.
Yeah.
But if a replenished one comes out, you can't claim that this round.
And we did also establish that it tells you to go from public to private.
Yeah, you can't do your private one in order to achieve something that's public.
Yeah.
You have to do public first.
So you do public, then you do private, and the difference is if your private then triggers a public, you can't claim it till the next round of claiming.
Yeah, exactly. Which is at the end of the next round.
Yeah, and obviously if I suppose no one else would at that point because you've moved past. So yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, that's the gameplay in a nutshell. James, what are your favourite parts of the game?
I like the band members thing and trying to balance that straight up points to harmonies. I also like the fact that there are harmony icons sprinkled quite liberally around the other boards. So even if you haven't actually got those links, you can still get.
Yeah, you can still do it. Yeah,
you can get what I call the tactical cross in this game. So I'm really struggling to complete that column. Look, I've got a harmony of my choice.
Yeah,
the tactical cross.
Yeah, exactly. It's perfect. Yeah, isn't it? The old tactical cross.
It is. I mean, at least 3 of those sections you benefit from the tactical cross, where it's like I'm within touching distance of triggering this. And that icon's not coming out from me by the cards. I need one of the unlocks to trigger one of my choice. Exactly. I quite like the term tactical cross.
Very good. Very good. I mean, it's hard to pick a certain thing that I like. As I said, I think harmonies and synergies is where it's at for me. That in turn obviously means I really like the band member, the crew aspect of the game.
Yeah.
I do like the other one, where you're crossing off the icons. I would have maybe liked to have seen a bit more variety between the 2 sections. Like it's both playing a card with an icon on it in order to clear it off. I don't really know what else they could have done.
Yeah.
But the difference between them is pretty good. Where on one, like you said, you've only got to connect 2 in order to get a bonus. Whereas on the other one, I've got to connect 4 to get 2 bonuses.
It's the only bit, because I think I mentioned it to you before we actually played. It's like I would have thought with how themed this game is, they might have given you a little key for what those icons actually mean, because some of the objective cards tell you what the symbol means. And I'd have thought they'd given you a little key because they are supposed to be assets and agendas. And I know from reading some of the objective cards, like some of the things in the yellow little post-it note are things like do an interview. And things like that. And some of the ones in the asset section are things like upgrade equipment, film and music video, that kind of stuff. I would have liked to have seen a little key just telling you what the icons actually mean. So it actually feels a bit more pulled into the theme, if you like. So,
more towards the theme.
Yeah, it's like, why am I actually doing this rather than I just need to cross that symbol off?
Yeah. So, I've pretty much said most of the things I like about the game. It's nice and easy. It's very quick. The game states 30 to 60 minutes. I could not agree with that more. Definitely towards the 60-minute mark if you're playing at the higher player counts. Once you know what you're doing, if you're playing 2 players, 30 minutes easily achievable. I think we had it set up and played and put away within an hour when we played just before this. That's with us chatting as well. 10 plus, I think I would probably agree with that. Actually, I think you could do this at 10 plus. But I'm sort of straying into final thoughts. But before we do, I do just want to talk about the theme and ask you, do you think with everything we've done with the gameplay rather than the appearance of it, did it capture the theme for you?
For the most part, yes.
Okay.
I think the band, the touring, and I suppose the album single release all track you're forming a band, so the Scandal section definitely tracks.
Oh yeah.
And I suppose just the objective is objective. It's not really themed. It's just a little bit of a shame that blue and yellow section kind of pulls you out, because it does just feel like I'm just crossing symbols at this point. Like I said, all they needed to do was put a little key in the back of the rulebooks to say what those symbols mean.
Yeah. No, that's fair. So for me, the gameplay wise, I'm going to split this into two parts because it does and it doesn't work for me. The main reason it doesn't work for me is, having been a touring musician, it doesn't really feel like I'm playing a game of going on the road and trying to make it as a band. It's, however, it is a much more watered down version of what you might go through trying to, air quotes, make it in the business. And I think that's with good reason. Because let's be honest, we all know what goes on behind the scenes in the music business. It's not a pretty place.
Yeah, one, it's not a pretty place, and two, it's insanely difficult.
Yeah. There are games that are coming out later this year, which I know we're both excited for, that I think might actually capture that a bit more.
Yeah.
But for what it is, I'm going to say that yes, this game did capture that theme. Because yes, I was hiring musicians, I was hiring crew, and I was sending them out on the road, even though I had almost finished the touring track before I'd even got my band built.
That's the bit that almost breaks the immersion for me, if I'm honest, is I've done 3 tours and all I've got is a roadie.
Yeah, I've released. Yeah, I've been on 3 tours
and released.
I've released 3 albums
and 2 singles, and the only person on my board is a caterer.
Yeah. What a band! So yeah, as I said, it's a watered down theme.
Yeah, it is.
They've achieved it, but much more watered down than what it would be in real life. So yes, they have achieved it, but no, they haven't achieved it.
Yeah, it does what it needs to do. I would definitely say the biggest fit to its theme is that band, is the crew creation bit, and having those synergy lines. It's like, because a band has to gel.
Yes, 100%.
Even
that is definitely the most thematic part.
Both of us will know at this point. It's like you used the example earlier, but even if you're within the same genre, you could get a heavy metal singer, a heavy metal guitarist, a heavy metal drummer, and a heavy metal bassist. But if they don't gel,
yeah. And that's the thing, is it doesn't necessarily, it's not just based on their inspirations and what music they play, it's personalities. Yeah. So that might have been an actual really cool mechanic that either should have been in the game, or maybe for an expansion, add in, emotions and things like that, because they are all things that plague bands.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I think it would bring too much.
It would.
If they did. But
the synergy track kind of fills all of that. It's whatever personal headcanon you want to put those lines in, as to whether it is musical links like the rulebook attains to, or more like how we feel about it, which is musician styles and attitudes and emotional state and all that kind of stuff, which is, like you said, everything there in a real band has to gel. Otherwise it's not going to work.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so question for you, James. Overall, I think I know the answer to this, but overall, was it an enjoyable experience for you?
Absolutely. I really do enjoy this game. Every game of it, like I've said, I've really enjoyed. I'm going to restate this. I like the fact that it is, even between 2 and 3 players, it is a completely different animal.
Yeah.
In terms of how difficult it is. And it is the drafting mechanic that does that.
Yeah. There's a bit more control of what you are and aren't giving to your opponent.
Yep.
you can actually judge your opponent's board a lot more at that 2-player as well.
It gets more difficult at the higher player counts with the drafting mechanic because it is literally, I think at 6, you might not even see your initial hand again. So I'm going to get one card out of this hand and I have no idea what else is coming around.
Yeah.
The rest of them, it is sort of like, well, I'm going to get at least one of these back.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. In that last game that we were playing in the last round, it's like where there was that level 5. I think it was a guitarist or it might have been a singer.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like, well, I can see James has already got his singer. So I know that I can safely pass him that card. And the only reason that wouldn't come back to me is if he has noticed that I am gunning for that singer.
Yeah.
And he would sacrifice points in order to get rid of it. But by the same token, there was other things that I was giving you in that hand that was like, no, he will want that. So it's fine. I've given him something that he wants in order to ensure that what I want comes back to me.
Yeah.
So there is definitely an air of playing there.
The strategies and the game itself drastically changes every time you change the player count, which I think definitely goes in its favour.
Yeah, nice. So for me, it's pretty obvious. It's a incredibly enjoyable experience. I've loved playing this game. I have played it so much since learning this, be it in person and on BGA. The fact that I can play this for free online is fantastic, and it is a really good game online as well. So quick. Really, really good. Value for money, James. Replay value. Is there any?
Yes, I think there's quite a bit of replay in this.
Excellent stuff, because what I'm going to tell you now is the price of this game, because obviously we haven't discussed that yet.
Yes.
This is the point that I'm going to tell you. So, at the time of the recording, this game is not actually out for retail. However, it is up for pre-order, and by the time this episode comes out, it is due for release within 2 to 3 days of this episode's release. The pre-order, also the RRP for this game, James, is £30, whereas pre-orders you can get from as little as £23. What do you think of the replay value and the monetary value of this game?
£23, absolutely, no argument. £30 for a roll and write, effectively, an X and write.
Yeah, I mean, there's a fair bit of card stock in there. Yeah. It is pretty good quality. I'm
gonna differ from what I normally. My initial instinct is to go, that's a bit steep for the game it is, but I think with the sheer amount of replayability and how much enjoyment I personally have had out of this game playing it, I'd be willing to take the punt on it at £30.
Yeah, I'm actually going to join you on that. I think there's actually value in here. It's like, yes, component-wise, there's not a great deal in here. The cards are very good quality, I will say that. Very, very good quality. However, I will be sleeving mine. 1, because it's getting a lot of use. And 2, I have found that I'm starting to bend the cards a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is my poor shuffling, let's be honest. But
I was actually going to ask out of curiosity, because I can't remember. I know you got your copy at UKGE. How much did you pay for it there?
I think it was 30, from what I remember. I'll be honest, I didn't pay any attention. Because I think I bought it at the... No, I didn't buy it at the same time as the neoprene mats, because that's obviously something we have the neoprene mats.
We do.
They are completely superfluous.
I was about to say, unless you like the design, that is one thing I would say about this game. The mats are absolutely not necessary.
Yeah, 100% not necessary. They just look very nice.
Yeah, they are. I don't know if that's an inside up staple, because earths are almost mats. Yeah. Whereas earth, I would argue the mats are extremely helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're completely superfluous in this. It's eye candy only.
Yeah, exactly. Especially as it's a roll and write game. Eventually that pad's going to run out and then those mats are essentially useless. I will probably be buying a refill pad for this because I think this game is going to get that much replay value for me, which really tells you a lot about a game. Because 1, I don't actually like that many X and write games. So this is a real anomaly. This might have actually replaced Gangstrom Clever in my collection.
Yeah.
I still have Gangstrom Clever. If I'm ever going to do an X and write, it's going to be this. It's not going to be Gangstrom Clever anymore. So that really does tell you where I sit on this. But James,
I mean, I should, as I mentioned to you before we went on air, it's like I've already sort of said to you, I'm going to have to borrow this to play with a few friends that I know will like it purely based on its theme.
Yeah. Yeah, I think. Well, obviously, I know the same people as you, but yes, I completely agree. I think they will enjoy it. So, James, final thoughts, recommendations on this game. What are your final thoughts, and who do you recommend this game for? Go for it.
Okay, final thoughts. It's a brilliant game. Play it, absolutely. I would say it is, as I already said, I think it is worth it at the price they're currently charging for it, both on the pre-orders and the RRP. I'm stretching on the RRP. It's potentially a little steep, but on the whole, I think it's worth it. Recommendations, it's fairly easy, so maybe not an absolute beginner, just because of the potential for, I think, an absolute beginner might get a little bit lost once you get a few turns into the game and multiple things are firing off. It's a good way to confuse somebody. Somebody who's got a little bit more experience playing X and rights, because most of them tend to have the same formula of try and fire off as much stuff as possible. Anyone who's played an X and right before will have no problem with it. Music lovers, anyone who's played in a band like us is going to look at this and find it amusing. But yeah, just to sum it up, thoroughly enjoyable game. Definitely recommend it.
Nice. I am obviously in that same park. I definitely love this game. I would recommend this to most people. I agree with you, James. This is not a beginner game. It's not hard to understand, but there is a lot to learn in the initial teach of the game. But once you know what's going on, it's literally a breeze. I think, as I said, I think it does have some flaws, but it's not necessarily the flaws of the game. It's more the flaws of the mechanism, with the whole triggering of loads of things. It is an analysis paralysis nightmare.
Yeah.
Especially at the late game.
Yeah, which I said in mine, it's like that seems to be a staple of X and rights, though. Try and fire off as many unlocks as you physically can to progress. The other reason I don't think it's particularly a beginner's game is because on top of all that, you're teaching drafting. Which of mechanics, I would say that it's not beginner friendly, mainly because a beginner's not going to really understand the whole. They might understand I've got to pick one of these cards, but they're going to probably help out their opponents more than they should by giving away cards that they shouldn't. So it's on top of all of that and trying to teach drafting, I don't think is a good combination for beginners.
No, 100%, I agree. I'm just going to say it's a solid recommendation for me, and I'm actually going to be honest here and say massive spoiler for one of our last episodes this year, where we talk about games that we've loved this year, top 5 games of the year. This is already in my top 5 games of 2024. Will it stay there? Who knows? There's a lot of games coming out this year, some really, really good games.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think, as a spoiler, I think I agree with you. I think this is in my top 5, but there's quite a few games, including one very much in the same theme that might take its place.
Indeed.
So we'll see, come back and join us at the end of the year, see if it's still here.
Yeah, exactly. But as it stands right now, I'm going to continue playing this game. I'm going to continue playing on Board Game Arena. It's actually a game that's got me back on Board Game Arena. That and the fact that this came on at the same time as Distilled. I've got 2 amazing games on Board Game Arena now that I'm not paying for, and it's amazing. So there you go, James. We have done another game highlight episode. It's the first time in a while we've done one.
It is.
How did it go?
I think it went really well. Long overdue.
Very much so. So hopefully, now that life is getting back on track a little bit, the dreaded Wimbledon is over. Anthony is just about finishing up his night shifts, so we should be able to play more games. I had a really good game night last night with Anthony and Stephen from Tabletop Games. That was really good. We played a lot of good games. We're hopefully going to get more games to the table, and we are going to be back to our usual rotation of episodes now. So fingers crossed, next week we should be back on track. So there you go.
Yep.
It is time to go, though.
It is indeed.
It's getting hot in here again.
It is. One final question, Jason.
Go for it.
After listening to this episode, how many people are going to want to play this on a Monday night?
Quite a few.
I noticed when we played the initial game at the gaming club, there was
some interest.
There was some interest, both direct and what's that?
Yeah. I think I best start taking this on the old Mondays again.
Yeah.
I think I'll be teaching this a fair bit. There you go. Have any of you guys played Draft Them Right? I'll be amazed if you have, if you're in the UK, because it's not out yet. So, unless, of course, you're at UK Games Expo. But yes, have any of you played this game yet? What are your thoughts? Let us know on all of the social media platforms. Facebook, Instagram, Discord, all of that jazz. We are, of course, on YouTube. You can leave us a comment on there should you wish. We will answer you. We will always read it and answer you if we indeed can. But until next week, I have been the one and only Jason.
And I have been James.
And you have been listening. I think I caught you off guard there, didn't I? You have been listening to the Meeple Minded Podcast. Join us next week for more tabletop gaming goodness. Ta-ta and goodbye.